From Hell to Hope, the untold stories of inmates in U.S. jails. Don't miss the next case. Subscribe, like, and share your thoughts below. The sound of steel doors clanging echoed through the cold hallway. Inmate 4739, real name Marcus Reed, stood still, his heart pounding as guards shouted and alarms wailed. Smoke filled the air from the burning laundry room, and screams erupted as chaos tore through Rikers County Jail. Marcus pressed himself against the wall, watching a guard trapped behind flames, coughing and begging for help. Everyone else ran. Everyone except Marcus. He took a deep breath, grabbed a soaked blanket, and dashed into the smoke. When the guards pulled them both out, Marcus collapsed, barely breathing. The same man once feared by every inmate had just risked his life to save someone who once called him a monster. The room went silent as guards looked at each other, unsure what to make of it. Marcus opened his eyes, whispering, "Nobody deserves to die like that," before everything went black. But how did a man once known as the Devil of Block C become the one who saved a life? It all began 3 years earlier. Back then, Marcus was 24, sitting in a courtroom in Newark, New Jersey, wearing handcuffs that clinked every time he moved. He had been found guilty of armed robbery and assault. His mother cried quietly in the back row, while his younger brother, Jamal, refused to look at him. The judge gave him 12 years. Marcus just stared ahead. No tears, no emotion, just emptiness. At first, jail life hardened him. He joined a prison gang for protection and learned to fight to survive. Fights broke out daily, and Marcus became known for his anger. The other inmates respected him, but deep down, he hated what he'd become. He stopped writing to his family. He felt trapped not just by walls, but by guilt. One day, a new program started, a college-in-prison education initiative. The idea of sitting in a classroom made Marcus laugh. "College? In here," he said to another inmate. But a counselor named Ms. Taylor approached him anyway. "You've got a sharp mind, Marcus," she said. "You just need to use it for something better." He ignored her for weeks, but one night, he found an old book in the library, the autobiography of Malcolm X. He read it all in 2 days. That story of transformation hit him like lightning. For the first time, Marcus began to think maybe, just maybe, there was a way out of the darkness. So he signed up for the program. At first, other inmates mocked him. "You think books gonna save you?" they joked. But slowly, Marcus started changing. He stopped fighting. He started helping others with their assignments. He even wrote essays about second chances. Everything seemed calm, until one morning during a study session, the fire alarm went off. Smoke started rising. Someone had set the laundry room on fire. And as guards shouted and inmates panicked, Marcus made a choice that would change his life forever. The fire spread fast. Thick black smoke filled the air, and the sirens screamed louder than ever. Marcus could barely see through the haze, but he could hear people yelling for help. The guards were shouting orders, trying to get inmates back into their cells, but panic took over. Some men were fighting to get out, others were frozen in fear. Marcus felt his heart race. He could have run. He could have hidden. But then he heard a voice, weak, coughing, desperate. It was Officer Daniels, the same guard who used to call him trash during roll call. Daniels was trapped behind a fallen shelf, flames inching closer. For a second, Marcus hesitated. Then he tore off his shirt, wrapped it around his face, and ran straight toward the fire. He grabbed the heavy metal shelf, coughing and choking from the smoke. His muscles burned, but he didn't stop. Finally, the shelf gave way. He pulled Daniels out just before the flames reached them. The guard could barely stand, so Marcus lifted him onto his shoulder and stumbled toward the exit. The hallway was full of chaos, guards dragging inmates, alarms blaring, and water spraying from overhead sprinklers. When they made it out, Marcus collapsed on the cold floor, his lungs screaming for air. The last thing he remembered before blacking out was seeing Miss Taylor's face through the smoke, shouting his name. He woke up hours later in the prison infirmary, his hands wrapped in bandages. The nurse told him he had second-degree burns but would be okay. What shocked him most was seeing Officer Daniels sitting nearby, alive. "You saved my life," Daniel said quietly. Didn't think a man like you had that kind of heart. Marcus didn't know what to say. For the first time, he saw respect in the eyes of someone who once hated him. Word spread quickly through the prison. Marcus Reed, the devil of Block C, had saved a guard. Some inmates called him stupid. Others looked at him differently, as if they'd just seen something impossible. A few days later, the prison warden called Marcus into his office. You've done something remarkable, the warden said. We're recommending you for an early parole review and a scholarship to continue your education program. Marcus couldn't believe what he was hearing. For the first time in years, hope felt real. But not everyone was happy about it. The gang he used to run with, led by a man named Trey Bones Jackson, saw Marcus's change as betrayal. You think you better than us now? Trey hissed during lunch. You saved a guard, man. You forgot where you came from. Marcus tried to ignore him, but the tension grew. Trey's crew started whispering, watching him closely. He could feel it coming, something bad. That night, as Marcus lay in his bunk, reading under the dim light, he heard footsteps. Then a shadow fell over his cell. Before he could react, a hand reached through the bars, clutching a sharpened metal shank. And then, everything went dark. When Marcus opened his eyes, everything was blurry. The ceiling lights above him flickered, and pain shot through his shoulder. He was back in the infirmary again, bandaged, weak, but alive. The nurse said he'd been stabbed during a fight in the cell block. Trey and his crew had attacked him, angry that he had turned soft. 3 stitches, the nurse said softly. You're lucky. Another inch, and you wouldn't be here. Marcus turned his head and saw Miss Taylor sitting beside him, her eyes filled with tears. You did good, Marcus, she said. You're not the same man who walked into this place 3 years ago. He sighed, his voice hoarse. Sometimes it feels like no matter how much I change, the past keeps pulling me back. She smiled gently. That's what makes you different now. You keep fighting anyway. Over the next few weeks, Marcus recovered slowly. The administration launched an investigation into the attack. Trey and 2 others were sent to solitary confinement. Meanwhile, Marcus was moved to a safer block, the education unit, where inmates focused on study and rehabilitation. There, things began to shift. Guards who once mocked him now nodded in respect. Inmates who used to fear him now asked for help with essays. Marcus became a mentor in the college program, helping others learn to read, write, and dream again. Every day, he saw small sparks of change around him, men trying to do better, just like he did. Then one morning, Miss Taylor came running in with a letter. It's official, she said, her smile wide. Your parole hearing has been approved. Marcus stared at the paper, unable to speak. After everything, the crime, the fire, the stabbing, he was getting a second chance. He closed his eyes, remembering his mother's tears in the courtroom, his brother turning away. Maybe now he could make things right. At the hearing weeks later, Marcus spoke from his heart. I used to believe I was beyond saving, he told the board. But I learned that redemption isn't about erasing your past. It's about facing it and choosing to do better every single day. The room was silent when he finished. Minutes later, the decision came. Parole granted. When he walked out of those prison gates, the sky looked brighter than he remembered. Freedom didn't feel like escape. It felt like forgiveness. Months later, Marcus enrolled in college on a full scholarship. He started speaking at youth centers about the dangers of crime and the power of second chances. His story spread, inspiring others behind bars to believe that change was possible. And one night, standing on a stage in front of a crowd, Marcus looked out and saw Miss Taylor in the audience, smiling proudly. He smiled back and said into the microphone, I came from hell, but I found hope. The crowd rose in applause, but Marcus wasn't thinking about fame or forgiveness. He was thinking about the fire, the guard he saved, the pain he survived, and the people still locked away, searching for their own light. Because deep down, he knew, even in the darkest places, hope can still rise.